Welcome, it's Mike and Denise. I'm barely awake. It's Saturday morning. We're going to our run. I can even tell my eyes are puffy. Before you click off this video, we're talking about mental illness and the fact that vegans are weird. Even though it doesn't say that in the title of this, I want to make sure that you guys know immediately that's why we picked this out, because I was looking for an article that addresses whether vegans have a greater chance of being mentally ill. And of course, we already know they're weird, and is that the same thing? We're weird, okay? Yeah, well, I'm gonna give my insight on this, okay? Stay tuned, okay? Wow, my eyes are puffy. Okay, go ahead, Denise, we'll look at you.
All right, the title is from the Insider is people who eat meat report lower levels of depression and anxiety than vegans do. A recent analysis suggests.
All right, this is from October 2021, so about a year and a half old. This is the newest thing I could find.
Yeah, this is written by Alan Woodward and Gabby Landsverk. The text is really small, so hopefully I can get through this.
Okay.
It features
it's long too.
A man eats his lunch at Holy Cow Steakhouse in Jakarta, Indonesia, December 7th, 2012. It's showing a picture.
That's an old picture.
This is only an online news publication.
Okay, well, let's not worry about the pictures. We got a lot of text to go through.
Yeah. A meat-free diet is linked to higher levels of depression and anxiety than omnivorous eating, according to a recent analysis in the journal Food Science and Nutrition.
Okay, first of all, I would think that goes against what people may have word on the street. Because even us, we think that, well, you're eating the fear, you're eating the death, you're eating the adrenaline of some animal that was killed abruptly, and that becomes you. So how in the world would you get more anxious and more depressed by avoiding that?
Because other studies in prisons have shown that the people were less aggressive and happier when they went vegan.
Yeah, I'd say, less aggressive too, absolutely. Less, you're not ingesting that adrenaline, right?
Yeah, bad energy. That analysis examined 20 studies on meat consumption and mental health and found an association between vegetarianism or veganism and poor mental health outcomes.
Okay, let me also mention something here. We're walking right now. In my book, Live to 150, which is totally free, liveto150.org, I talk about the importance of daily vigorous aerobic exercise. And I talk about it not because of losing weight. That's what everyone thinks. Oh, you go to the gym and lose weight. No, it's for your mental health. Right?
I understand what this article is about now.
Okay, you do? All right.
It says, how many people have you met that are both happy and on a diet at the same time? We're not on a diet. We eat as much food as we want.
Yeah, and let me also weave into what I was saying, that there's been a big role recently in vegans or ex-vegans showing up in the media. And in most cases, or not every case, not just the ones in the media, people we know, I do believe they were doing the nutrition wrong. So if you combine doing the nutrition wrong, which you can, being vegan, right, easily, and you combine that with little to no daily vigorous aerobic exercise, maybe that is a recipe for depression and anxiety. I'm just saying, okay? Make sure you don't just make some blanket statement across the board. You got to get specific.
We're really specific with our diet. We're not just vegan. We do whole food, plant-based, low-fat. I'll give you an example. Last night we shared this huge salad with a whole tomato and as much dressing as I wanted because it was oil-free. And I was full. And after our work, just on a whim, we decided instead of getting chips and margarita for Cinco de Mayo, we split a big bag of French fries. Oil-free, salt-free French fries. And I got on the scale this morning.
Organic too.
And guess what? I'm not up any weight. We eat as much as we want.
Okay, let me also mention the thing about mental illness. Don't you think that if right now vegans are a small sector of society and most of society is totally screwed up, that they may have some type of a problem processing that mentally? I want to throw that out there, right? Like, don't you think they might be upset about that? Yeah. Okay, and is that normal or is that abnormal? Like, how do you even? The problem is, I think a lot of people will define mental illness as you're deviating from the norm. Yeah. Well, the norm is a massive problem. Okay, does that even mention this in this article? No. Oh, okay.
So, Ursa Doberisk, a psychologist at the University of Southern Indiana who co-authored the analysis, told Insider, Probably very few, and there is a strong scientific reason for that. Restrictive diets make people unhealthy and unhappy in the long term.
Okay. If you're doing it wrong, again, the reason that we see the ex-vegans these days is because they are doing something unsustainable, which is a diet that causes you to eat too little calories and or deficient in nutrients. That is not sustainable. And they say junk food vegan, that's not sustainable, because that's exactly what happens.
Well, I often miss some of my favorite foods, like mac and cheese, but we make it healthy, so I don't feel deprived.
Right, so you have to do it right. Just keep this in mind. Anything good can be done wrong and become harmful. Anything, including this.
Any potential causal link, however, is still debated. That's what we're doing right now. Although some studies suggest that nutritional deficiencies associated with vegan diets can be linked to depression. It's possible.
Okay, I get it. Do you agree with that? I would fully agree with that.
Yeah.
Fully agree.
You have to eat a variety of food. It's possible that depression and anxiety may precede someone's decision to go meat-free. Meat avoidance may be both the chicken and the egg when it comes to mental illness.
That's not a vegan euphemism.
Yeah,
saying whatever.
The research included in the new analysis spans the years from 2001 to mid-2020 and includes nearly 172,000 participants across 4 continents. Of that group, about 158,000 people ate meat and 13,000 did not. All but 2 of the studies relied on questionnaires in which the respondents self-reported whether they ate meat or not, and answered prompts about whether they experienced anxiety and depression. The analysis concluded that meat abstination is clearly associated with poorer mental health.
Meat abstination, poor mental health. And like I said, it could simply be the idea that someone chooses to abstain from meat because they're horrified at the way society is set up. In which case they are not going to be in a good mental state. But is that a normal response to what's actually going on in society is my question.
No, you have to be really strong mentally to see all of the suffering and that's going on and the direction that our climate is going to. We're literally killing ourselves. Animals are going extinct. And that is really depressing. You have to overcome that. You have to have a positive mental attitude to not be depressed about the situation.
And just like I have a feeling if we did a study on people who read the popular news, whether they view it or read it, versus people who don't, I bet you'll find a higher level of depression and anxiety than people that read the news regularly. Just because they're bringing in all this, the killings, right? I mean, you hear about this stuff all the time. What is that going to do to your mental health?
That was true regardless of a person's sex, though the researchers weren't able to see the weather or other factors influence the correlation, such as a person's age, the particular types of meat they ate, their socioeconomic status, their history of mental illness, or how long they've abstained from meat. Still, the finding builds on previous research demonstrating similar trends. So Dobersick said she wasn't surprised. Her own team, in fact, published an analysis last year that suggested abstaining from meat is associated with a higher risk of depression, anxiety, and self-harm. An August analysis from a team in Germany, meanwhile, also found that vegetarians were more depressed than meat eaters. The idea that we became healthier or happier by eliminating foods and beverages is simplistic, unscientific, and not supported.
So someone's going on the idea that you're going to be better off. Is it healthier? Okay, now that yes, I think you definitely can be healthier. You should be if you do it right. Yeah. Happier, again, you should be if you do it right, but only if you do it right. And what's the other one?
That's it.
Okay.
Healthier and happier by eliminating foods.
Okay.
It's unscientific, she says.
Okay, I agree with that whole statement overall. Because just because you eliminate eating one food doesn't mean that you've got the balance right, according to Depeche Mode, who we're going to see later on.
Yeah, right. Get the balance right. However, there's no evidence a meat-free diet directly leads mental health to decline. We cannot say that meat-free diets cause mental illness. What we What we did find is that the research doesn't support the idea that eliminating meat can improve mental health.
Okay, gotcha.
Edward Archer, who co-authored
I would
the
agree.
2020 paper.
It depends,
said-
right? The answer is it depends on how you do it. Depends on all the details.
Although several studies have found that vegetarians are more depressed than meat eaters, other research has shown the opposite. There's also the question of chronology. Do people stop eating meat first, then develop a higher risk of depression? Or do more people who are regularly depressed choose to become vegan or vegetarian?
Yeah, maybe they're depressed because they see how screwed up society is.
Yeah.
And that would make sense. You shouldn't be okay with society if it's totally screwed up. Not to say that there aren't some good things about society, because there are, but I think in this day and age, 2023, unfortunately, I know too much, and I'd say the negatives outweigh the positives with the way that most of society is set up.
Very few studies offer answers, though research from 2012 suggested that depression may precede a switch to vegetarianism. Other possible explanations for the link, according to Dobersek and Archer, could be that people try meat-free diets to address existing mental health issues, or people with depression may be more likely to empathize with animals.
Okay, there you go.
Nutritional choices based on personal ethics.
So what do you call that? Do you call that depression? Because if mental illness just basically is defined on what's normal society, which I just described, the negatives outweigh the positives, I would hope that you're mentally ill according to what society is the way society's set up.
Individuals struggling with mental illness often alter their diets as a form of self-treatment, Doberisk said. And it appears that many people choose veganism as an ethical response to the cruelty inherent in nature and human societies. It's possible too that individuals who are depressed or anxious about climate change are more likely to make dietary choices that lower carbon emissions. Globally,
Oh, I see. That would be a big health mistake.
yeah,
Because if that's the only reason you're doing it, although we're putting together a presentation that shows that you can only fully optimize the environment's health by optimizing your own health, that will be out soon. Actually, we're going to get a copy of that on the channel. I'm going to give that on Tuesday. So you're the first to hear about it.
globally, the livestock industry is responsible for about 15% of annual emissions. I think it's even higher than that. It depends on where you get your research from. Doberisk noted, though, that strict vegan diets can sometimes lead to nutrient deficiencies, especially in pregnant women. That, in turn, can...
Strict vegan. As if the stricter you get, the more nutrient deficiency you're going to get. No, you have to stick to food and not food-like products. And by the way, I consider all animal products food-like products, just so you know.
You don't have to eat meat to get your iron, folks. You can get it from sea moss. Just rinse it first.
Yeah, don't do what I did. Stick it straight into a smoothie.
That, in turn, can increase the risk of physical and mental illness. For example, vitamin B12, folate, and omega-3 fatty acids are only in animal products. That's not true. We get our omega-3s from chia seeds. And
Yeah,
flax seeds.
there's a lot of
And
incorrect things
B12
there.
doesn't come from animals either. It comes from a microbiotic in the ground. And a deficit in those nutrients is linked to depression, low energy, and poor metabolism.
Of course, I get it.
Yeah, so take your
Makes sense.
right stuff, folks. When Doberisk's 2020 analysis came out, some who read it thought it demonstrated that meat eating improves mental health. But Archer said that that's apparently false. Patently false.
All right, we got to hurry up. We're almost at our...
Additionally, critics of those same findings pointed out that Doberisk
biker
had
behind you.
received more than $10,000 in grant money from the National Cattlemen's Beef Association
Of course.
to conduct systematic reviews
Science is bought and paid for.
on beef
Yeah.
for happier and healthier life. That was the name of the research study. $10,000. The new analysis, too, was funded in part by a grant through the Beef Association. The authors noted, however, that the sponsor did not influence the research design, data collection, or study conclusions.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Are we almost done with this?
if you're
We're
given a
almost-
pile of money, you're gonna make it lean toward the grantor.
Yeah, there's always that bias. It's definitely biased.
Dobra said she thinks the results could still have implications for how dietary guidelines are created and communicated. They will. Last paragraph.
Okay.
With each edition, the dietary guidelines for Americans has become more restrictive, she said. In 2020, for instance, federal recommendations suggested Americans limit their intake of red meat, whereas no recommendation was in the 2005
Finally,
version.
yeah, finally they're doing something.
Limit it. For crying out loud. That only came out in 2020. It's been obvious since the 40s. Yet the U.S. population has become more diabetic, more anxious, and more depressed.
Imagine that. Imagine that.
I don't
How about
think
it's a reflection
phase.
on the way society's set up,
Yeah.
not necessarily whether someone has a general dietary choice. Let's say that's very, because this article is very general, not specific.
Yeah, most
I
people-
would love to see a specific study.
Most people don't decide on their dinner plans based on the U.S. dietary guidelines. Either. I don't think.
All right, is there anything else left there? Are we done?
That's
Okay, so what's your summary?
There's no correlation between
No.
veganism and poor mental health.
Okay, between poor, but I think it could improve it if you do it right. That's my thought. And get my book, Live to 150. At the link is below. Give us your comments. Any other articles you have on this, let us know. We'll read them. I definitely want to learn more about this.
Yeah, let us know.
So let us know in the comments. Give us a thumbs up and, of course, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next video.
Adios.
Bye-bye.